right. Good afternoon, everyone. So today I wanted to talk about lysosomal storage disorders. So for those of you that have already covered this, you know that there's a number of symptoms associated with each of these, and they're all similar in a few ways, but also different. And I found the trick to keeping these straight, in addition to using spaced repetition and really testing yourself, is having mnemonics to remember key points or key presentation features as well as the enzymes. So I'm going to go through a few of the ones that helped me. They may seem a bit far-fetched to you, but really, you just have to find a way to create some connection in your mind. So the first thing I did is I went through just to get an idea of what each of these are. Then I thought about how to tell them apart, because that's ultimately what questions are testing. So first thing I noticed is that a number of these conditions involved either having no or having hepatosplenomegaly, and a number of them involved having a cherry red spot or not. Particularly three: Tay-Sachs, Gaucher, and Niemann-Pick's. So Tay-Sachs of the three is the one without hepatosplenomegaly. Gaucher of the three is the one without a cherry red spot. So the way I went about this is, in my mind, Tay-Sachs is a small word, Tay just being 3 letters. Hepatosplenomegaly is a big word. So it makes sense that the smallest of the bunch, Tay-Sachs, doesn't have hepatosplenomegaly. So that's how I came to that conclusion. Then Gaucher is the only one of the three with an R, and cherry has an R. Given that that's the odd one out, and we know 2 of them have a cherry red spot, I made the connection Gaucher has no cherry. Similarly, I went through each of these and was looking for a way to keep them. So Fabry disease, I use a mnemonic HAP. This is completely arbitrary, but I just needed a way to generally remember the key things: hypohidrosis, angiokeratoma, peripheral neuropathy. If I saw a patient and they had angiokeratoma and decreased sweating, then that would trigger in my mind this abbreviation, or just these 3 things. Metachromatic leukodystrophy, that's one I just kind of remembered. And since we have mnemonics for so many of these, then at that point it's just remembering 1 or 2 things versus memorizing each one. Crave disease was the one with optic atrophy. That was unique. And a few of these, like Gaucher and Niemann-Pick, have lipid-laden macrophages. You can come back to that, but if your time is limited or you just want high yield, try to figure out what's unique, because you can bet there will be questions where they'll say which of these options, and they'll give you hepatosplenomegaly and a cherry red spot, and you're responsible for remembering which of these 3 it is. Lastly, with the enzymes that are relevant, you might not have a mnemonic for all of these, but I have a few that help me. So Tay-Sachs, the Sachs sounds like an S-A-X. Well, hexosaminidase, the only enzyme with an X, is the one that corresponds. So that's how I remember that. Looking at the remainder of these, so in first aid and in boards and beyond, they cover Crave and Gaucher right next to each other. Well, Crave has an A and Gaucher has a U. Glucocerebrosidase has a U, which corresponds to Gaucher. Crave has only A's, and galactocerebrosidase does not have anything other than A's pertaining to that initial prefix. Niemann-Pick, Pick for P, sphingomyelinase, the only one with the P. Metachromatic leukodystrophy, I just kind of remember that one as aryl sulfatase, and Fabry is A-galactosidase. But this is a quick, concise approach, and hopefully you pick up a thing or 2 and it carries you to test it, because even now I can think to myself, Gaucher has a U, that's the one that's glucocerebrosidase, things like that you can just hold on to, versus rote memorization.